What's up guys, this is Ferdinand40k, and in this tutorial we're going to look at using Smooth tool for creating different organic meshes. So first of all I'm just going to load in a reference image from the front. Now organic, if you don't know what that is, organic shapes are more stuff like body shapes, sort of organism, lifelike shapes, whereas hard surface is stuff like tables, sharp edges. So we're going to look at how we can create sort of a basic shape for this. Now we're going to use a smoothing tool, so I'll show you exactly how it works. If I get the, I don't know, just a cube and hit 3 on the keyboard, that enables the smooth preview, and as you can see it's smoothing our cube out. Now there's some various principles that you're going to need to sort of understand when modeling with this smooth technique, is the various loops and that you'll have to use to support various shapes. So if I wanted to create a cube but with just the rounded edges, basically beveled edges, I can't just click 3 because it rounds all of it, so we need to support it. So if we come up to the insert edge loop tool, all we can do is we can add a loop there and add a loop here. I won't do the rest, but if I just show you now what that looks like. There you go. So the rest is rounded. It's more like a cylinder now, but the tops are just beveled in. So do the same for the others now. Do one here, and what we're doing, we're just basically supporting all the edges. So now this will be sort of like a beveled cube. There we go. And then what you might want to do is you just might want to put another edge loop in the middle, if you so wish, just to support it that little bit more, but shouldn't really make a difference. There we go. So we got the smooth cube, and then obviously once you come into like vertexes, if you start pulling them out, you can create various different shapes by just adjusting these vertexes. So that's what the smooth tool does. Yeah, so you get stuff like that. And then hit 1, it goes back to the low poly mesh. And then if you just come up to here, making sure you're on the polygons tab of modeling, and it's called the smooth. So if you do that, then it will turn it into polygons. And then you can choose the amount of subdivisions you want. So I can click 1. So that's a very basic. And that's basically how you would turn sort of like a high poly sort of mesh into low poly. So we're gonna use a little example here. So we're gonna grab a cylinder. Now when you're modeling with the smooth tool, you don't need all these subdivisions. Yeah, you can actually come and put 8, but then as soon as you smooth it, that turns into quite a few, or even if at 1, that's quite a few around the edge, and that's plenty. So 8's fine just in the low poly area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the top and bottom faces, so we're just left with that. And then we're going to come into the front view, and we're just going to position, we'll go X-ray view, which is that one there, and then we're going to just position our leg up here, maybe a bit more, something about there. There we go. So the vertexes are all matched up. The left is there, the right is there, and then what we can do is we can just start readjusting down here. And the best thing to do is always scale it from the center, because it's a cylinder. If you rotate, scale it from the center, it's doing the X and the Y, which is what we need in this case. So we'll grab the edges and then we'll extrude it down, and then move it into the middle-ish, and then scale up, making sure that we're getting the detail. I might move that up a bit just to get the peak on that quad, and then further down a bit. Oops. And move that into position. So it's a bit fiddly, but you'll see why in a sec. So we're just basically creating a low poly cage for this area of the leg. I might come and add another edge loop in there in a sec, but we will see. And all I want to do is basically just match up to the leg as best I can. So I will actually add an edge loop in here and make that a bit smaller, and that's going to represent the kneecap, or the knee, should I say. So I'm not going to do the whole body, but I'm just going to show you this leg just so you get a sort of an understanding what this tool does. So bring that one in a bit. Again, edge loop in there. Size that up a bit. Now we're only getting a basic low poly. We're going to smooth this out in a sec, and that's where sort of the magic's going to happen. And it's just a different form of modelling. Sorry, Facebook messages. There we go, and I'll just do one more just to focus around the ankle. Right, so we will do another edge loop in there. Scale that in a bit, and there we go. So now we've got this basic low poly shape that's going to focus all the way around our leg. I just will fix these areas. I'm hoping you guys can find use for this. So the fact we've been scaling it from the middle, you can clearly see that the cylinder is perfectly symmetrical. Now we will need a side image, and then we will need to go into the side view and then start readjusting those points, but that's fine, we won't go into that yet. That'll come on a more detailed tutorial in anatomy and whatnot. So if I now smooth this, it turns into what looks like a leg. Now obviously with the muscle details, that will be done in ZBrush, which is a sculpting program to get all muscle details, and then what you do is you'll keep your low poly mesh, and then you'll use the high poly mesh to bake normal detail onto this low poly. So that's how characters are made for the games. So now we've got smooth enabled, we can basically just come back and just readjust. So I'm going to do it very quickly, just making sure that everything's matching our reference image. We've kind of lost a bit of detail on the sides, but that's no problem. And then this way we can sort of start looking at our curves. So just match everything up first. We won't have to worry about everything. We'll just make sure that each subdivision line is correct before we start tweaking. Because as you can see here, I don't like, well, this would be fine, but this area, for example, is not looking so good, but that's what we come to fix. And try and get a more rounded shape for the leg. Right, so now what I do is I grab sort of the edge vertexes here, and then I just scroll down, and I start readjusting them to how I want. Now this is where you'd obviously have to go into the side view and have to do the same. I'll probably move that bit up as well just to support that arch. Everything's looking okay. Bring it up just to get the kneecap in a bit. Size that one in. There we go, that's fine. Everything's looking okay down here. Maybe bring these two slightly in to be just a bit picky. So there we go. Now we can see we have the leg. So looking at the image, actually, if you can, there we go. We've got the quad detail, we've got the calves here, and the base of the ankle. So that's what our low poly looks like, and that's what our smooth looks like. And this is where topology is going to be really important, especially for the characters, because obviously you can get away with putting meshes inside other meshes for stuff like tables and that, but for characters it all needs to be one mesh, and it all needs to support itself. So you know, the legs need to connect to the body correctly, and that topology is going to form a basis for good animation when you come to rig. So that's something you need to bear in mind, but that will take practice. So what I will do now is I'll just duplicate it and then flip it on the x-axis. So now we sort of got legs, Put that back in the centre. There we go. So now we've got a pair of legs. Go back to 1, and then we'll smooth it to polygons. And I won't do that many polygons because that's quite a lot. 7,000 just for the legs. Hit that to 1. Oops, I'll have to do that separately then. So that to what? Oops. No. Use default level 1, and then the same. And there we go. Now we've got 1920 tries. So if I go wireframe, there we go. And that's enough detail for the legs. Definitely. You might even be able to get away with putting less polygons in that. And that's going to come at a later date when you come to retopologize it and whatnot. So that's how the smooth tool works, guys. So that's how you can create nice organic shapes. Now, the reason I will just cover it actually. The reason I took these caps off was because, obviously, as I showed you earlier, if you do this and then hit 3, the top edge rounds, so that would have interfered with the placement of my vertexes, and obviously you won't need these when you come to model characters, is because you're going to be taking all these different edges and then connecting them together, so you won't really need the cap. You'll sort of build around it. So yeah, I hope this tutorial helped, guys. It's only a basic one into the smooth tool, but obviously if you want more detail, I can go into human anatomy at a later date. So please like and comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.